When you make an alien look like human, you always have a chance to win a game, and that's exactly what the Oklahoma City Thunder did against the San Antonio Spurs. We have to talk about the MVP to begin with, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. After the first game, he spoke about it, saying he was not good enough, and in such a close game, in such a weird occasion where it goes to a double overtime, you kind of want your MVP to step up, and that's exactly what Shai did tonight. He had 30 points, 9 assists, he had 4 rebounds, and most importantly, he had 0 turnovers. He had 1 turnover, and that's what you need to do as the MVP. That's what you need to do as your first option, especially considering how crazy Wemby went in the first game. And you can see that it was a battle of the MVPs. Obviously, Wemby came third in the MVP ranking, and Wemby came out on top in the first game. But Shai responded exactly how an MVP, how a champion responds. 30 points, he was getting to his spots. Yes, he only had 1 turnover, I believe that was late in the fourth, but throughout the game he barely lost the ball. He was finding his teammates. He got 9 assists. He could have got a lot more assists. I feel like when he got doubled, he played the right pass, he played it at the right time, which is very important, which allows his team to be aggressive, which allows his team to attack the paint and allows them to get a lot more open looks. And that's exactly what you need from your star player. That's exactly what you need from your best player. That's exactly what you need from the best player in the world, right? In Shai. And he kind of set the foundations, he kind of set the building blocks for his team to build. And then after you talk about the likes of Isaiah Hartenstein, Alex Caruso, who had another great night, by the way. Then you got the likes of AJ Mitchell, who finally hit that double figure that he was looking for in the first game, and he struggled. You had Jaron McCain coming off the bench. You had Cason Wallace coming off the bench. And these are the guys that in the first game, they didn't really have an impact. And there's a reason why it went to a double overtime and they lost in double overtime. But in this game, even with Wemby still being the great defensive player that he is, they found their advantages and they took advantages. And they were able to get buckets, which all in all contributed to the fact that they did win the game. Obviously, injuries are a killer, and Jalen Williams, he did go out after only playing 8 minutes. Apparently, it is the same hamstring that took him out the Phoenix series and the Lakers series. So I hope it's not, too bad. I hope that he can come back in this series, because you want your best players playing. Same with Dylan Harper as well. He had a hamstring injury, and obviously De'Aaron Fox has been injured as well. But I want to first talk about, I talked about Shai a little bit, but I want to talk about Shai and the buckets he was getting. Yes, he got 30 points, and you expect that from your MVP, but the timing of the buckets he was getting is very important. Now, I was looking at this game, and it was a game of runs. You see the Spurs go on a 12-2 run. Then what happens? OKC take a timeout, and they respond with a 13-1 run. That's exactly how the game went. And one thing I like about Shai is that in the first game, which I didn't really see, when the going got tough, and he did get doubled, he passed the ball out the double, but he didn't look to get back into the game after he passed when he got the double. But this time it was a lot more calm, a lot more composed. He realized who he was. He got to his spot. When his team needed a bucket, they passed it to him. They found him, and he was able to get to his spot, get to that midi that he loves, and he was able to just score. He didn't go to the free throw line a lot. 6 free throws only out of 30 points. That means he earned his buckets. And against Stephon Castle, who is a very good defender, who anyone would have trouble against, to have only 1 turnover, to have only 6 free throws and still get 30 points, it is impressive. And that's what you want to see from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on a night-to-night basis. I remember in the fourth quarter where the game was... It was a close game. It was like a single-digit game. He gets the ball. He has Stephon Castle on him. He puts his shoulder on him. He creates that separation. He hits the bucket. And he's saying to his team, calm down. Calm down. Don't worry, guys. I got us. Because who am I? I'm the MVP in my home stadium, in my home arena. I know who I am. You guys know who I am. I am going to keep us safe. And that's exactly what he did. But let's talk about Isaiah Hartenstein as well. Now, there's been a lot of talk about what Isaiah Hartenstein did in the game in terms of... Okay, cool. Let's first talk about his impact on Wemby. Yeah, he kept Wembanyama quiet. Whether you like the way he did it or whether you think it was fair or not in terms of the grabbing, the holding, the pushing, the shoving, things like that, whether or not you think that was right, he still kept Wembanyama quiet. And even though Wemby left with a double-double, which is kind of standard to him, he was close to leaving with a triple-double, he still kept him quiet, and keeping him quiet allowed them to win the game. I feel like he was he was the master of the dark arts, the pushing, the shoving, the grabbing, the yanking. And if the refs ain't calling it, he's not going to stop doing it. And yes, he did have 4 fouls, in the third quarter, but he was doing those little things that kind of aggravated Victor Wembanyama, and even on the offensive side of the game, if you're looking at the amount of offensive rebounds, he got 8 offensive rebounds. That's big. That's a lot of second chance opportunities, and those are the margins that allow your team to win the game. I felt like he was very aggressive on Victor Wembanyama. He kept him out of the paint, and he forced him to take tough threes. He forced him to take tough layups, and that's exactly what you need. The first game you saw Alex Caruso guarding him, because Isaiah Hartenstein, I believe, only got 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and I didn't really agree with it, but I get why Mark Daigneault done it, because teams in the past have had success putting smaller guards, so they put Alex Caruso, but he realized straight away, and that's what makes Mark Daigneault a great coach, put Isaiah Hartenstein on him, and let's try to frustrate him, and let's try and make the buckets he gets a lot more harder, because he's still going to get you 20 a night with 10 plus boards, but let's make it as hard as possible for him to get that. And that's exactly what Isaiah Hartenstein did. I mean, you guys will probably have your opinions on the way he did it. Make sure to comment down below if you think that it was right, if you think the refs need to do better, or if you think it was just unethical and it was nasty from Isaiah Hartenstein to do it. But for me, the way I view it is like, if the refs ain't calling it and you're doing it from minute 1 of the game, why is he going to stop doing it? Especially, like, he knows how to win. He knows the margins that he needs to have to win. And sometimes you need to be dirty to win. Especially when your other big in Chet Holmgren is scared of Victor Wembanyama. Yes, he had a decent third quarter, but he is scared of Victor Wembanyama. And, a lot of talk about Giannis coming to OKC. Who's going to be going the other way, right? If a trade does happen, it will be Chet Holmgren. So, there's a lot of talk about Chet, but I feel like Isaiah Hartenstein, he rose to the occasion. Same with Alex Caruso. I don't know what to say. First game, he had that 30 plus points. Tonight, he had 17 points. But it's not only the 17 points, it's the 5 assists. It's like, it's the defending that he does. It's the amount of pressure that he puts. And as I said before, there were times in this game where he had to guard Wemby, and he did a good job. And again, AJ Mitchell is someone that had a great series against Phoenix, is someone who had a great series against the Lakers as well. So it's nice to see him kind of find his form, kind of find his rhythm going into the game. It's the same with Jared McCain. Now, Jared McCain, he took a lot of shots and he was shooting just below 30% from the field. But one thing I like about Jared McCain is that when he's open, he's going to let it fly. He's going to shoot rather than overplaying it, rather than overpassing it and, leading to a tough shot. If you're open, shoot it. If you miss, there's nothing wrong with shooting it. I'd rather take an open shot and miss than take a tough contested shot late in the clock, because you guys were overthinking it. And that's what Jared McCain did. Cason Wallace as well, he's I love the way that he plays. He generated 4 steals. I mean, those are the things you need. It's the same with AJ Mitchell. He generated 4 steals. And it's these small margins that help a team win. Now, there's one player I want to talk about. Obviously, I talked about Chet Holmgren a bit. I feel like he needs to do a lot better. But Isaiah Joe is someone where, he's someone where if you're facing the Spurs, you know that you're not going to get a lot of opportunities in the paint, so you have to be effective from 3. Now, Isaiah Joe coming into the series, he was someone that you're looking at in terms of he can get me a bucket from 3, but he's still not found his rhythm. Last night he played 10 minutes and he got 0 points. That's just simply not good enough, and it's something that he needs to look at and something that he needs to work on. But let's move on to the Spurs. And, first thing I want to say is the turnover problem. And that's going to be with Stephon Castle. Now, anyone that knows me, I'm a big Stephon Castle fan. He had that nasty poster against Isaiah Hartenstein last night. But there are certain things that you need to do in order to win a 7-game series against a very good team. And one of the things you need to do is limit your turnovers, right? Now, across the 2 games, he's averaging 10 turnovers per game. Last game, in game 1, he had, I believe, 11, and in this game, in game 2, he had 9 turnovers. Now, he had 9 turnovers, and the whole of Oklahoma City Thunder had 9 turnovers. So his turnovers alone is the difference between them winning a game and them losing a game. I feel like he needs to do better. The offensive side, the way he can get to the cup, the way he's so strong, the way he's able to leap off both feet and generate so much power, the way he's able to finish around the rim, that's something that he can do, and that's something that he excels at. He even shot a few middies as well, and that's something that I like. about him. But in terms of turnover issues, I get that Oklahoma City Thunder forced turnovers. There's nothing wrong having a turnover, but some of the turnovers that he was having were very dumb passes, and he has to fix up on it. And if they do want a chance to win against a very good team that already forced turnovers, right? You can't be giving them free buckets. You can't be giving them free transition points. And that's what Stephon Castle was doing. There was a pass last night, yeah, in the fourth quarter. Cool, you had your 8 or 7 turnovers throughout the game. You get an offensive board. If you make a bucket, it turns to a 4 or 5 point game. He looks for Champagny, but he's just rushing it. He's rushing it. You get the offensive rebound. Yeah, 14 seconds on the shot clock, and you're trying a pass under the basket to Champagny, as you can see that he was going to the 3-point line, and you had Wemby right next to you. And in these moments you have to look for your best players, and I feel like you should have passed it to Wemby. So it's things like that that kind of ruin the rhythm and kind of plays on his mind. Again, I'm a big Stephon Castle fan. This is not me having like a go at him and say like, he shouldn't be playing or things like that, because obviously you have De'Aaron Fox, who in these scenarios, especially in the clutch, he'll be initiating the offense. He'll be the primary ball handler. Same with Dylan Harper, who got injured, which is again sad to see, but it's something that he needs to work on. It's something that he needs to fix up. And if you're looking at it from a Spurs point of view, like you're looking at, if Stephon Castle can even get down to 4 or 5 turnovers, they probably go ahead and win the game, But his turnovers are killing them. Let's move on to Victor Wembanyama. Again, as I said before, if you make an alien look like human, you always have a chance of winning a game, or you always have a chance of winning the series. He still had 21 points. He still had 17 rebounds. He still had 6 assists. He still had 4 blocks. But that's what happens when you compare an alien to a human. This is what a human stats look like. And he didn't have a great night. I think in the first half, he struggled a lot with the physicality that Isaiah Hartenstein pushed on him, and they forced him into tough shots. He only took 4 shots in the first half. He only had 7 points, but in the second half, especially in that third quarter, he kind of figured it out. I saw him set a lot more screens rather than standing still and wanting the ball at the elbow. You're not going to be able to get the ball at the elbow with that ease against someone a lot bigger, not taller, but a lot bigger, a lot stronger, and with a lot more experience than you. That's not going to happen. You constantly have to make a big move. You have to get him out on the perimeter, and whether you pick and roll or whether you pick and pop, which obviously he can shoot the free ball, is something that you have to look to do. I thought Vassell was amazing last night. Vassell was a player where he's so scary because of his high release point, right? If you find him in the corner, you probably 9 times out of 10, I think is going in. If you find him open, I think that free ball is going in. I don't think he's going to miss an open shot. Even when he gets to his mid as well, his release point is so high. Even the best of defenders, unless you're a very tall defender, it's very hard to contest that shot because the release point is a lot higher than where someone's hand is going to be. It's as simple as that. So shout out to Devin Vassell. I thought Jordan McLaughlin, a lot of people on Twitter, they were kind of saying, who is this playing? How is he getting minutes? He didn't get minutes during the past. Well, he got minutes in the past series, but not as much as you would have expected for him to get in a game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. But you can kind of see that they were crying out for a ball handler. Obviously, Stephon Castle, he had his turnover issues, and Dylan Harper was actually quite good at it, but the injury in the third quarter kind of forced Mitch Johnson's hand in terms of, we have to go ahead with Stephon Castle initiating the offense and taking the lead. And obviously, Harper and Castle, this is their first playoff series, so it is already taxing on them, but they badly need Fox, or, they needed another ball handler. So I get the idea behind playing Jordan McLaughlin. And someone I need to talk about is Luke Cornett. Luke Cornett in the past 2 games, I think he's played about 20 to 25 minutes. Anytime I see him on the court, I don't even need to look at the plus or minus. Anytime I see him on the court, the Oklahoma City Thunder go on a run, and it means Victor Wembanyama has to come in immediately. I don't know what's happened to him, right? Because at the Celtics, I thought he was feasible. I thought he was a decent center, and he played a lot better under Joe Mazzulla along the likes of, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. But in this series for the Spurs in general, he has not looked good at all. Anytime he's on the court, you can just see Oklahoma City Thunder it's like their eyes lit up, and they're looking at the rim and they're saying, you know what, let's get him in a screen and roll action, let's put him in there. If he wants to play drop coverage, cool, we got guys that can shoot the midi. He's not gonna wanna come up and defend on the perimeter. He's not going to want to trap the ball handler in the pick and roll, and that's just simply what he doesn't want to do. And after, when he is protecting the rim, it's just so easy to beat him. It's just so easy to get an easy bucket at the rim, and it's something that, you know, he needs to look at himself, and he needs to think about, how can I play better? How can I impact this game? How can I think about, you know, what I'm doing? He needs to watch back the tape. And sometimes it's not necessarily about how can I be better. I just feel like the moment is a bit too big for him. And in a team where there's not a lot of playoff experience, Luke Cornett is someone that has played with, you know, good players, that has played in a playoff environment, and is someone that you expect to kind of rise to the occasion. Now, I'm not saying he needs to have great numbers, but the least you can do is protect your rim, is be a rim protector. The least you can do is contest shots and make, like, you know, the guards or the forwards' life a lot harder for the Oklahoma City Thunder, but he didn't do that. And, you know, it's a big problem. Looking into game 3, obviously we're back in San Antonio, so we're going to San Antonio, and I believe the Spurs will win that, just because it's home advantage. Hopefully De'Aaron Fox is back, so there's a lot less there's a lot less pressure on Stephon Castle for being the ball handler, for initiating the offense. You know, he's currently averaging 10 turnovers per game. That can't be happening if the Spurs want to win this series. If the Spurs do want to go to the finals, that just simply can't be happening. I feel like Victor Wembanyama, I'd like to see Victor Wembanyama set a few more screens, be a bit more active, move up and down, because Isaiah Hartenstein, if you're just there in one position, if you're there at the rim or at the elbow or at the post, you know, that's comfortable for Isaiah Hartenstein. He's going to do the nasty things. He's going to push you. He's going to grab you. He's going to tug your jersey. He's just going to do things like that, which, you know, it's what winning leads to. And especially if the refs aren't calling it, you know, he's going to be doing that every night. So I like to see Victor Wembanyama kind of just set a lot more screens, you know, just go back to the basics, you know, just go set a screen and roll to the basket, or screen and go to the 3-point line. One thing that I saw from the Minnesota Timberwolves series that I liked a lot is that, you know, Victor Wembanyama got the ball at the top of the key, and you typically saw one of the guards come set a screen on Rudy Gobert, and it basically took them out of the game. That's something that I'd like to see. I like to see a lot more flare screens as well, a lot more screens off the ball to get Victor Wembanyama free, because when Victor Wembanyama's on it, and even last night where he didn't have a great game, he still looked scary. You still thought he's someone that could have brought it back. You have to kind of play to your advantages and try to get him in areas where he can take advantage of, and I feel like that's what the Spurs need to do in game 3. They need to clean up the turnovers, and I feel like their role players just have to give a bit more. But as you guys know, at home the role players always perform better, so you expect the likes of, you know, someone like Julian Champagny, who you know can shoot the free ball. You expect him to not go 1 from 3. You know, Castle, hopefully at home he can reduce the turnovers. Luke Cornett at home, hopefully he can look better. Carter Bryant, again, he had a very good game 1. In game 2, he had 0 points. He had 2 turnovers, and there was 1 bucket where Shai had, and, you know, he had him spinning, he had him stumbling, and it was completely rude. But that's enough for the roundup, I should say. It was another great game, and this series is living up to the hype. Make sure to comment down your thoughts below. You know, I love reading your guys' thoughts, and I love just interacting and talk about NBA. So it was a great game. On to the game tonight, the Cavs and the Knicks. Again, tomorrow morning, exactly where I am, I'm going to be uploading another video, so be sure to tune in for that. But I've been your boy, Najib is a son, and I'm out. Peace.